Hello everyone, welcome to the Swing Trading Stock Market Outlook for the week of December 12th. Every week I go through the same process, how major indices are performing, market health indicators, recent watch list performance, and sector performance. Basically this is the first step in my trading process, looking at overall conditions. That determines if I'm going to be aggressively buying individual stocks, and if conditions are good, then I will be. If they're not, then then I'm not trading. And within those individual names, I'm looking for specific patterns and trade triggers. So you can dig into those articles by clicking on the links. So heading into the week of December 12th, market conditions are good at the moment, but we're right on the cusp of being not good in a few areas. So basically, if the week starts out poorly, then I'm not going to be taking any new trades because most of those indicators are going to turn negative. The price action on the indices is going to be negative. It's going to potentially put us into short-term downtrends. And so this week I'm more just wait and see. Don't need to deploy anything. The watch lists haven't been performing great. So we'll get to all of that stuff and dig in. But basically this is what I'm seeing. And keeping my cash in my pocket for the moment. We'll see how the week starts out. If it starts out strong, then maybe I start looking at deploying some capital. If it's weak, then yeah, it's going to throw basically everything into negative conditions. So here's how that's looking. So from a price action perspective, we're in short-term uptrends on most of these indices. As discussed here, they look at different segments of the US market. Then I also have a Canadian index and the India ETF, just because the India market's been quite strong. And so let's zoom in here. Let's look at NASDAQ first, because I think it's a good example of what could be going on here. So we had this sharp move up. We made higher swing highs just above this high. We moved above it. Then we had a pullback. Then we pushed up, pulled back, and now we're hanging out right near those lows. So you could draw a rectangle around this and basically say this is just a consolidation or a pullback of this first move. So you can see we're above those lows. If we keep going up, we haven't breached this uptrend, this short-term uptrend that started here at the start of November. In IWM, the Russell 2000, we had this push up, a pullback, a push, didn't quite get to a new high, and now we've taken out these prior lows. So uptrends are higher swing highs, higher swing lows. Downtrends are lower swing highs, lower swing lows. So we've started to see evidence that this uptrend is waning, and we may even be in a short-term downtrend on the Russell. But again, if you drew a rectangle around this, we're hanging out just near those prior lows. So if we turned higher from here quite strongly, we could consider that a false breakout to the downside, and then we're moving up. And if the price continues up, that uptrend wouldn't have really been broken. We were in conflict here, but we went higher. S&P, the same thing. We had this sharp move up, pullback, move to a new high, pullback, and we've come out and we're hanging right near these lows of these prior waves. So if we get, a strong sell-off here, or if we get a drop below these lows, that's downtrend behavior, not uptrend behavior. If we turn higher from here, nothing of the uptrend's really been broken. Yes, we came back to the prior lows, but as long as we keep going up, we're still in that short-term uptrend. The S&P, the Canadian TSX, still in an overall uptrend. We're still above these prior lows here. India still in an uptrend. And the NYSE composite, we had this last little push up, so we've pushed below these lows just a little bit and we're hanging out. And so again, it's like if we have a tiny bit of downside, maybe that's okay as long as we keep going up quickly after. But if we start to see quite a bit of selling below these recent lows, then that's short-term downtrending behavior. And then we'd need to see the process again of higher swing highs, higher swing lows, to indicate that has ended. So definitely right on the cusp. That's what I'm talking about. It's like we're still in an uptrend at the moment on some of these, but if we see a lot of much selling, then we're in short-term downtrend. So right on the cusp. The market health indicators are showing the same thing. This is number of stocks above their 50-day moving average. It is quite healthy at the moment, and this is why I haven't totally shut the door on buying. We do still have lots of stocks and uptrends, and if they're performing well, then you want to be buying stocks. But they have fallen off a little bit. We're down to 56% of all U.S. stocks are above their 50-day moving average, 77% of the S&P. This just kind of highlights that area. We're hanging out right near these lows. If we keep dropping that short-term downtrend, if we keep going up, then this bigger short-term uptrend that we've been in since mid-ish October will continue onwards. This is the just daily movement, and we still have some big moves. Small moves are more indicative of uptrending behavior, especially on the downside. We have no big drops here. This is more indicative of steady uptrend periods. When you have lots of big movements, that's more indicative of downtrending behavior. Ideally, they should be small moves up and down. And we've had no 2% drops, but we've had a couple that were close. On Monday, we had, I think it was a 1.8% drop, so pretty close over here, and so still pretty volatile. And if this was an uptrend, you'd be seeing more values like this, right in here, like just moving up 1/4%, moving down 1/4%, moving up 0.5%, moving down, more values like that, as opposed to big 2% whipsaws up and down. That's more indicative of downtrending behavior. So we're still, this one's still a little questionable, but we haven't had any 2%, so I'm still giving it a thumbs up. But we've been very close, which, again, when you're right on the cusp, is that a great environment? Probably not. Don't want to be deploying a ton of capital or being very aggressive. NYSE advanced decline line is moving up, but same situation as here. We've leveled off and we've come back to this prior low. So we've broken the trend line like we have here, but we're still above these lows or very close to it. So again, if we start moving up, no harm, no foul. But if we start dropping off, just like that would basically occur if the price action starts dropping off, then that would be a more problematic sign, because then you could start drawing a downward trend line, and we'd be trending down until we start seeing higher swing highs, higher swing lows. This is the percent of volume that occurred in a day to the upside. 90% values show very strong buying. 10% values shows that almost all of the volume that occurred in the day was to the downside. On December 5th, I believe it was Monday, we had a 93% downside day. The statistics on TradingView aren't always accurate. I think it had it at around like 12% or something, which would be an 88% downside day. But if we use like the Wall Street Journal numbers for volume, it was about a 93% downside day. So pretty aggressive selling, showing that there's still a lot of people that are scared or whatever it is coming in and really selling in droves on Monday. The good thing is that we're still holding that uptrend. So one down, a couple on the cusp, but price action still, just kind of holding that line. Sectors on the move. Oh, and I should talk about this before we get into the sectors. Ultimate indicator is how many quality setups we have and how they're working. Most of the stocks on the recent stock watch list have not performed that well. I got stopped out of a couple, and there was a couple that are performing and still performing well. But if you have a watch list of 10 and only 1 or 2 stocks on it are performing really well, that's not great. You more want the opposite side, where when conditions are really good, usually if we're watching 10 stocks, like 8 of them will be going up. And that's way easier to make money in that environment, and that's when I want to be more aggressive. So the fact that it feels a little bit like a needle in a haystack, finding the one stock that's going to perform really well at the moment, I'm being a little more cautious. So I'd like to see more stocks acting well and really seeing those, what I'm watching, most of those stocks performing really well. So that's another bit of a red flag out there right now. Sectors on the move, pretty much everything destroyed the last week, and a bit of a reshuffling overall still over the last 3 months. Basic materials, healthcare, industrials, financials, these have been the ones that have been the kind of leaders for weeks and weeks, but got a little bit reshuffled this week. Technology getting better over the last month, even over the last week, not near the bottom, but kind of more the middle of the pack. And a few of the other ones that have been strong, like financials, a little bit selling off a little bit more. Industrials more near the middle of the pack. So a little bit of a mixed bag, which also says a little bit of a warning sign too, because it's where's the real leadership? Nothing's super clear here over multiple time frames. It's, there's no one clear sector where it's, yeah, you definitely want to be in this one. It's just soaring up. It seems to be flip-flopping a little bit, but these ones still seem to be the overall strongest ones out there, and we'll see if that continues to reshuffle over the next week. Technology, definitely worth keeping an eye on. Consumer cyclicals as well, performing really well recently, but consumer cyclicals down this week, and technology again the lower end of the pack. So again, no clear leaders over multiple time frames, but these ones are pushing up, so definitely ones we want to keep an eye on, technology and consumer cyclicals as well. So very cautious this week, especially at the start of the week. Want to see some buying pressure come in the indices to keep these short-term uptrends alive, and I would need to see great trade setups in individual stocks. To me, that seems like a bit of a tall order based on what I've been seeing in the trade setups I've been watching. Just tells me, hey, maybe it's not the best time at the moment, but if we start to see that push higher, then maybe I get more involved. I'm guessing minimal trades this week, probably none, but if we do get that push higher to start the week, then that might get me more interested in taking some trades. There's always the option to day trade, which I do, because then I don't feel pressured to swing trade when conditions aren't good. So you can always check out the price action stock day trading course or the Euro USD day trading course, depending on which one you are interested in. That is your market health outlook for this week.